All right, everybody, we are here live with the Warrior Leadership Training. I'm so super stoked to be here today. I hope you are out there smiling, creating a lot of smiles out there, creating that ripple effect, changing people's lives. And, as leaders, we meet people that change our lives. There are people that teach us new things. And today, that is one of those guys. This gentleman, his name is Matt Brauning, has literally impacted my life, has taught me things that I didn't know, and I've learned from him. I've seen Matt. I've seen you speak probably 5-6 times, and each time I see you speak, it's just amazing. And just so you know about Matt, all right, he is a best-selling author. He's a master trainer of NLP. And if you don't know what NLP is, that's neuro-linguistics programming. And he was a self-made millionaire by the age of 25. I'm not going to tell you how old he is now, 26.
And a half.
And a half. and he's spoken and taught all across the United States, all over the world, in places like Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. He has been mentored by Tony Robbins. He was filmed in the movie The Journey with Brian Tracy and Bob Proctor, and he consults with Fortune 100 companies on leadership. All right, now you see why I brought this gentleman on our call. And some of his clients include USA Bank, John McAfee, the founder of McAfee Antivirus, Ron, how do you say it, Welty, the former drummer of The Offspring, New York Life, Keller Williams, the YMC, and a whole bunch of others that I could go on and on, but you'd be bored by that. And he's an avid rock climber and mountaineer, does technical ascending on mountains like Mount Whitney and Half Dome out in Yosemite, just to name a few. So if you can, I know we're not in a live place where you can stand up and give them a standing ovation, but here, because everybody's mute, we do the wave like the mute people, the way they welcome everybody. So everybody give them a wave out there, let them know you're there and excited to see him. Awesome. There you go. Matt, welcome to the stage.
Man, Kent, thank you so much. This is awesome. Talk about awesome sauce. And it's so great to see everybody as well. I wasn't sure exactly what to expect with the platform here. And it's funny, I launched a podcast in February, so I've been doing a ton of interviews back and forth on mine or for someone else's. And so I'm in this mode of like one-on-one Zoom interviews. So it's kind of refreshing and really, really exciting and nice to actually see everybody's faces. So hello, good evening. How are you? Everyone's good. You can wave if you're good. Yay. I don't mind one more wave. It makes me feel really good. Okay, good.
Hey, and what's cool is a lot of the speakers that we've had here on the Leadership Zoom have been speakers on your podcast. Like Bob Bonnell was, I know he spoke here and he spoke on your podcast, other speakers as well. So, we have a good circle of friends and people that we, look up to or hang around, because like the leaders, you become the 5 people that you hang around with the most.
That's exactly right. I love that. So would you just want to get a feel for it? What normally happens? Would I just go as if I was going to teach on some leadership subjects?
Yeah, I want you.
You cut me off on a platform.
You have the stage, buddy.
Outstanding. So I want to get an idea of, make sure everything's relevant for all of you. So we can talk about a few different things. I prefer personally, I don't like to bring canned speeches and presentations to especially small rooms like this, right? I want to know what's really relevant to you. So just quick, raise your hand if this is you, and don't do anything if it's not you. Are you a speaker or aspiring speaker? No hands. Okay, good. Are you currently running your own business or desire to, and you're launching that? More hands?
Yeah, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in this group.
Okay. And then would you fancy yourself a leader or an up-and-coming leader? I know this is that ego question. No, yes. Like If you don't want to consider yourself a leader, you're probably a leader. Those are the best leaders. Leaders eat last, and leaders lead from the back. I do a lot of work around servant leadership. So I think we can talk about people. Over the last few years, I'll probably just share a little bit of my story, maybe. I think that might be a good place to start. I love to, it's a way to get to know each other a little better. And first off, Kent, thank you for that intro. It was amazing. I mean, I wrote it, but you read it. So thank you for reading that, so I don't have to say all those cool things about me. It's funny, you know, as a leader, I have always struggled with introductions like that because on one side, personally, I could care less. But in the social world, you know that no matter what, it still works. You still need to share some credibility and prestige, and people just plain listen to you differently when they hear about different elements like that. So I'd like to have someone else read that way. You know, I don't actually care, but hey, you know, you still know those things about me. You know, I'm now in my 12th year running coaching and live training, neuro-linguistic programming training, and coaching certification business. I've been an entrepreneur for 16, going on 17 years now. I'm 38 years old, so I'm not young, I'm not old. I don't know what I am. I'm this guy who's 38. I have a 7-year-old son named Valiant. He's actually just outside the office door right now, hanging out with one of his friends, and I'll bring him home tonight. My wife Lola and I just celebrated 8 years married, 10 years together. She was my first tattoo I got, which is, I don't know if you can see that there, but I wanted to find something permanent and something that meant a lot to me for my first ever tattoo. So I thought, who better than to bring my wife with me everywhere I go. We also lead a church together, which is shocking, I think, sometimes to the personal development crowd. But you know, we lead a church. We help to pastor the people. I love preaching on Sundays. I love speaking at live seminars and workshops. I've been training NLP for, again, 12 years, but I've been studying it for really my entire life. When I was real young, I say real young, I was 18 to early 20s. I got into the real estate industry and I fell into it accidentally, but I did really well really quickly. And by the time I was 25, as Kent mentioned, I had $5 million in property. I was a self-made millionaire. I had a cash flow of about $500,000 a year in my business. I've been self-employed since I was 21. And I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. At the end of that year, I remember thinking to myself, like, I've done so much. I felt like I had created, so many results, but I really looked around and I didn't see the impact. I don't know if that makes sense to you, like if you resonate with that, and I know I was impacting people, right? I really tried hard to be one of the good guys. I was just talking about this with someone on our podcast just today, that he was also in the mortgage and real estate space. And we were talking about the good guys and the bad guys. And I think all of us, we all kind of went through the struggles we went through, but I really always tried hard to be a good person. I always wanted to do the right thing. I certainly messed up enough, but I made a big mistake. When I was 22, I went to a seminar with Tony Robbins. Big hands, big head, big teeth, the whole thing. And I went and saw Tony Robbins, the banana hands. And he was astonishing to me. But what I watched was he started transforming people's lives because he worked with someone who was depressed. And I saw this with my very own eyes. A few minutes later, all of a sudden, she couldn't access the pattern of depression. And she tried really hard to, and she couldn't. And I saw her over the next few days at the workshop, and she was just a different person. And I'm this young kid, and inside I'm going, that is the most important thing I've ever seen in my life. If I can learn how to help people change habits that they feel like they're not in control of, that's what I'm here for. And I just really felt strong about that. And I went back to work. Within a few days, I quit / got fired, however you want to say that. But I quit working for my boss at the time. And I started my own real estate business, and I continued investing and flipping houses and buying rentals. And I was doing that world. You fast forward a few years, and I had that epiphany. I realized I'm done. I need to do something that matters. I had what I call the empty eyes. I was going about my life, but I felt like a zombie a little bit. I had everywhere I looked at my clients, I just had empty eyes. Like it didn't register as this matters of you buying a house or not. I decided at that moment I was going to put on my first seminar. I'm going to put on a seminar. It's going to change people's lives. I'm going to make an impact. It's my purpose on earth. This is going to be awesome. And I put on my first seminar, 2006. It was a massive success. There were 6 people there. 2 of them were my parents. Yep. Mom and dad showed up to support. Really awesome. And thank you. But they didn't pay. So I can't really count them as clients. And then a few friends showed up to support me. Trust me, you do not want your friends supporting you in your business because they don't buy anything. At the end of that big day of my seminar, the biggest day of my life, the day I figured this is me arriving, I just sat back on a bar stool in the seminar room. And I remember just saying, seminars suck. This is terrible. Like, this was my whole plan. This was my dream. And at the end of it all, nothing happened. No one's life was changed. Everybody just said, thanks, Matt. And they left. And I was like, okay, I guess that's it. But at the end, there was a young girl named Kay. She's a Japanese exchange student from Japan, oddly enough. And Kay came up to me, and she'd been a friend for a couple of years. She'd moved to the country 2 years prior. And she came up and she said, Matt, and she kind of had this like beautiful, like broken English Japanese accent. If you can imagine, like, just try to imagine the sweetest, most innocent young woman you could ever imagine in your life. And this is Kay. She's just the dearest soul you'll ever know. And she comes up to me and she says, Matt, and I was like despondent. I said, yeah, Kay. And she said, I make new decision today. And we had taken them through this decision-making process from NLP. It was real basic. It wasn't anything even like I do today. It was just this simple, try to make a new decision that used to be negative and make a positive one and write it down. That was kind of it. But Kay did that. And she said, I make new decision. And now I know my life is never same again. And she had a tear in her eye. And I was like, oh. And what turned out is Kay was in a relationship that was verbally abusive. And it was really, really negative. And it was her first major relationship of her entire life. She was in her early 20s. And she had made a decision prior, unconsciously or subconsciously, that she wouldn't really be worthy of, a really great person, that she didn't really know who she was yet. So who she had was the best she was ever going to get. And in my seminar, she made a new decision to change that. And she decided she was worthy of the best possible level of love that existed in the world. And she decided she was going to dump that guy. And she did. And that's why she started crying. And I'm like, I didn't know all this at the time. So I'm like, hey, that's great. And she reaches out and hugs me. I hug her back and she starts crying. Now I'm crying. And we're just sobbing. I'm just holding this beautiful soul, this dear friend of mine. And that was the moment that I just said, this is it. I'm done. I will do this work the rest of my life. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know if I'll be rich or poor. I don't know if I'll speak to millions or 10 or 2. I don't care. But that was the moment that I decided I am done. I will do this as long as God lets me do it. And I don't ever intend to stop. I wanted to share that just because I think it's important in today's day and age as we get into, there's a lot of, seminar rooms and coaching programs and books and all these things out there. And we talk a lot about make an impact, make a lot of money. Those are the 2 things, aren't they? Right? I'm a leader. I'm going to make a big impact. I'm going to make a lot of money. I think as a leader, one of the first things we have to realize is which one must come first. And I say this often, like in live events and whatnot that we do. You can teach talent, I believe. You can teach talent and skill, but you can't teach heart. And as a leader, our heart has to come first. So to me, I've been able to build a fairly successful coaching business. At this point, I've put on over 200 multi-day events, well over 500 events in general, coached thousands of people, put them on in 18 cities in 4 countries around the world. Not the biggest in the world. I'm still, we're a size big enough that I can talk to a small room, a big room. I can do one-on-one work, not a ton of it as much as I used to, but I still do one-on-one work. And I just absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. But I still believe that one of the biggest reasons why I've been able to make a successful business, we do right around the 7-figure mark. So last year, I think we were like 980 or so in sales. This year we're set for about 1.3 or so. I don't throw that out willy-nilly. That number is really important to me. And the reason it's important is this. I made a decision that I was going to do coaching and transformation work no matter what. I'd already made money in real estate. Here's the truth. If I really just wanted to make the money, I would just go back to real estate. Do you know what I mean? I'd go sell tires. I mean, have a tire shop. Tires are a lot easier to sell than invisible transformation, if you know what I mean. You have to, this is something that's intangible, but so important. So it wasn't about the money ever. And I realized I had a limiting decision that I made for myself. I made this decision early on that if I was going to make money, I had to do something I didn't really care about, something I wasn't passionate about. Like I lost my passion for real estate, so that was what I was going to do. Or I was going to change the world, and to do that, I'd probably not really make the kind of money I wanted to make. So I had to choose one or the other. And I don't know if you ever felt like you've been in a moment where you had to decide between maybe the lesser of two evils, or you have two great choices, but you can't have one unless you have the other, or you can only pick one. Which one do I do? It's like if you have two children saying, which one do I love more? It's not very fair, and it's kind of an impossible choice. And I'll never forget the year. It was 2 years in. It took me 2 solid years. For 2 years, 20 months to be exact, I made $900 as a coach, as a leader, as a transformational expert. $900 in 2 years. That's insanity. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really have a mentor. I'd been through the Tony Robbins training. I did his exclusive platinum partnership program. I did some NLP training. I was ready to go, I thought, but I didn't actually have a business mentor. I didn't understand the business side of it. So what I did is I stepped into leadership, but not into business leadership, if that makes sense. It was just transformational leadership. So one of the big journeys that I'm really excited to share today, and today meaning like, present moments, a lot of what I share on stage these days is kind of the last several years of evolution for myself and my company and the team we have around us now. And that was the realization that you need to be a leader in your personal life. You need to be a leader with your clients and transformation, and you need to be a leader in actual business as well. So think about those 3 areas. Personal life. This is about, so personal, and I don't know if you're taking notes or not, or if you usually do that, but now would be a great time. I'll probably get into some content and take some notes. If you're that kind of a compulsive note taker, feel free. So I would say there's 3 major areas to lead in. And again, the major areas, number 1 is in personal life. Number 2 is in client or one-on-one, so with somebody else. And then 3 is organizational. So if you have a business, or you're in aspiring business, so if you have a business of 1, or you have a part-time assistant or 2 outsourcers at Fiverr, you have a business. If you have an employee, you have a business. If you have 2 1099 contractors, you have a business. If you have no one with you at all but you have a business. It's just that you have every position, which can be kind of stressful. But there is leadership in business or at enterprise or at the organizational level. Let me kind of break those down a little bit. And Kent, is there like, does Q&A work well here, or is it kind of tough to do on the Zoom? Because I'm happy to like teach on things, but if anyone has any specific questions as we get into it, I'd love to answer those too.
Yeah, I mean, we have the chat room so people can throw in questions there as well, and
Oh yeah,
we can do that.
okay,
If you
good
want,
call.
I can read the questions, and then
Yeah, and I have the chat right here. That's perfect. So along the way, what I'd love to do is, I don't want to talk your ear off the whole time. I'd love to answer, again, relevant questions. So if you have anything at all from now until any points you have that come out, just jot it down in the chat and send it. And maybe your question will get answered down the road as I'm talking. And if it doesn't, we can get a little bit of answer time at the end. So the first element of leadership, the first area, is leadership in self. And this is the area where I believe it's so important to look at congruency. So congruency is, one of my old mentors, Keith Cunningham, a phenomenal business mentor. He was the Rich Dad and Rich Dad Poor Dad that Robert Kiyosaki modeled from and learned from. Keith Cunningham used to always say, "Do you eat your own cooking?" He's from Texas. Well, do you eat your own cooking? And like, if you ain't going to eat your own cooking, who's going to? So if you are in the business of expert advice, especially in that space, the coaching space, that's so important that you don't have to be an expert at everything. And I think that's one of the myths as well as a leader, that you have to be this well-rounded, perfect person. Winston Churchill could barely stand up. when I was a kid, I remember going and looking at my PE teacher who was overweight, my economics teacher who was broke, and we went to a marriage family therapist who was divorced. And I don't know if I was the only kid looking at that going, hey, I understand all of these things can happen. It's not an issue. It's not a judgment thing. But if you're teaching me physical fitness and you can't apply the principles, there's something off on the message, right? I understand divorce happens, but like if your job is marriage therapist and you can't hold a relationship, you don't have a relationship, I don't know, like there's just something about that. So today we're in a different world. I believe today in leadership, the world demands congruency. And with social media, as active as it is, with the amount of tweets that go out every single day, you can't go for 10 seconds being incongruent and not have it called out. So do you need to be perfect? No. But if you're teaching in an area, take the time to really make sure that your principles work and you can apply it to yourself. So if I'm teaching a leadership, what I want you to do is, there's a good book that I read. Some of you may have heard of it. It's called the Bible. And in there's some interesting quotes. One of them that I love so much is judging things by their fruit. So Jesus talked about, Jesus of Nazareth, he talked about teachers. And there's good teachers and bad teachers. And he talked about comparing those as a metaphor to trees, good trees and bad trees. And he said a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. A good tree will bear good fruit. So he said, don't judge the tree of what it looks like, judge the tree by its fruit. And I think there's so many good lessons that you can apply, of course, from those pages. So when I see a leader, I always say, and I tell, again, right on stage, I say, judge me by my fruit, meet my wife, meet my son, look at the business that I've grown, and what I talk about, I must implement. We have a small team. There's about 8 people on the team here, full-time employees, full-time contractors. I have 4 coaches, 2 trainers that help teach the workshops. I have a leadership development team of about 25 people that are going through a leadership program, that are basically assistant trainers and coaches, and that help at live events and are building that. So I built a culture very much around leadership and raising up leaders. I very much believe in raising up leaders from the ground up, right, from within. And so not so much about title leadership, right? I don't think if you get a new title, you should become the leader. I don't know. Has anyone ever watched the show The Office? Do you remember that show? Any Office fans? Yay! No Office fans? Okay. A couple people. There's one of the characters there, Dwight. And from the beginning, Dwight was what I call a title leader, right? From day one, he had a business card, and he was the assistant to the regional manager. The assistant to the regional manager. So in his business card, he crossed out the word "to." So it said assistant regional manager. And he'd walk around telling people he's the assistant regional manager. They said, well, you're the assistant too. He goes, no, assistant regional manager. Same thing. He's like, no, it's not. It's not. He so badly wanted a title, and it showed up in his fruit, right? He would always try to take over for people. He'd try to dominate a conversation. And you could tell there was this, and that's why we started loving the character, because he was so insecure and so unsure of who he was. But he knew that if he had that title, if he got to be the assistant regional manager, if he was the regional manager one day, if he got the title, he'd finally be something, right? And again, when I look at leadership, I think as a leader, you can never get in order to be. You got to be in order to get. And I will never promote someone to a position that they haven't already been in, right? So this relates to us in our business too. And I hope this is okay. This is totally off the cuff based on, I'm reading your faces, and I just feel like this is a leadership call. So let's do some leadership talking. Is that okay with everyone? Yeah. Okay. I'm getting head nods. Okay. This is good then. All right. So I always promote people based on who they've already been. Right. So I look at Jeremy, who's running the office. He's the general manager of the office, and he's going to be, he's going to be the CEO, or probably the CEO one day very soon. He's 23 years old. He's a phenomenal young man. I met him 2.5 years ago. He came with his mother to a seminar, and they were super excited. And then they signed up for our NLP Mastery, our year-long NLP certification program and coaching program. And they went through all that. And then I said, hey, he said, is there any space? Maybe I could intern. I want to kind of sit at the learning tree. I said, yeah, we actually have space. That would be great. And he came on and started helping out 10 hours a week. And then that turned into a part-time job that turned into a full-time job. And every time Jeremy's moved, he's such a phenomenal young man. Every time he's moved up, it's always been, I said, who have you already been being? And he's already been running the office. So then it was time to say, look, you're already doing this. Now it's time to promote you to who you are, right? So ask yourself this question too. Who have I been being that deserves a promotion? And if you haven't been being that person, it's okay. But let's be honest for a second about it and say, hey, have I not really been being this person? Who do I need to be to get where I want to go? And that's really like that fundamental question of leadership. Okay. So that's the congruent aspect. That's leadership for self. Make sense? Cool. Leadership to others was the second key, right? Leadership to others. And that's where when you show up, the idea about leadership to others is that this is where I get outside of myself. And when I'm around someone else, I must be lifting other people up, right? Leadership to other people is about just a couple of things. It's encouraging, it's uplifting, it's teaching, it's bringing other people up, right? So when we spend time together right here, right now on this call, my intention right here, right now is not about me. And to tell you the truth, every time, whether I go, it's a live seminar or it's a call like this, or it's on a podcast or whatever it is, a lot of people are always thinking for the end in mind, going, okay, well, how many people are going to be on there? And what do I get to pitch? And am I going to get new clients from it? And this and that and all those kinds of things. And it's good to think about that stuff. But the truth is, like, I came on here thinking, I know that Kent is an amazing man. I know he has a huge heart, and I know that anyone who is listening to him and spending time with him is going to be a great person too. So I just want to come on and I want to see where I can serve and how I can serve. I want to have a good, authentic conversation, and then it leads to where it leads to. If we speak after this, great. I'm sure I'll think of, as we go through, some resources I can share with you. I won't charge anything for it, but I'm happy to share some NLP resources. If you'd like them, you can have them. And I always think like this. At the end, you'll know who I am and you'll know what I can do in your life. And if you leave this call and think, oh, I'd like to learn some NLP and I want to find a teacher, well, now you know one, right? So usually, just by sheer numbers, there's always a couple of people in the crowd that go, oh, I've been wanting to learn NLP and now I like how you teach, so I'll do that with you. So I guess my point is, show up though to serve people. Don't show up with your own agenda. So when I'm here, the only thing I'm thinking about is I'm looking at each one of your faces, right? And even the faces I can't see, right? I'm looking at Hope and A. Adams and Kathy Bruce and Cindy Krippelbauer, right? And blank someone, but I'm looking at you and asking, what do you need? How can I help? How can I help you to feel better about yourself? How can I help you to act better in your life? How can I help you to show up and step up in a way that maybe you wouldn't have had we not talked? You're all great for sure, but is there a way you maybe could step up just a little bit more, right? That's what I'm looking for when it comes to leading other people. Think about equipping people. Think about uplifting people. Think about encouraging people. You will gain far more in feedback with encouragement than you will with criticism. And you probably know that, but I really mean it. Let me give you a quick example. I've even gone to the point sometimes with another leader that I need to give a criticism to, right? There's someone in my organization, there's feedback where I say, hey, I need them to change this and know that this thing didn't go well, right? So I'll go beyond a feedback sandwich. Instead of just saying, hey, you did great, but also this thing was really bad, we got to change it, but overall you did great. That's a feedback sandwich. My feedback sandwiches really are just almost pure encouragement. I will literally encourage them in the things they're doing great in. And then I'll speak life and vision and give them a vision for how I see them, not how they currently are. Does that make sense? Right? So learn as a leader to start speaking about people as you see them, right? Meaning down the road. See, when I look at you, I see what you're going to create. I see who you're going to be 10 years from now to create the results you're creating. I don't see the you today, including your limitations and everything else that maybe we're all walking with that stuff. But it starts here. It starts in the mirror. When I look at myself in the mirror, there's a lot of shortcomings. I promise you there is. I'm not always this charming and special. Ask my wife. I'm sure I make jokes that are not funny, right? But all joking aside, when I look at myself in the mirror, I think, Matt, you got a long way to go. Like you really have a lot to learn. But the very next thought is, I see myself for the thunder, right? For the lightning down the road, right? Have you ever witnessed a thunderstorm, right? And you see the lightning, but the thunder comes down the road. The thunder is 2-3 seconds behind. And I think in life, we need to start looking at people for the thunder they're about to make, not for the lightning they seem to be right now, right? So start learning. Well, that was really good. I'm going to write that one down. I think I just said that for the first time. Lightning, thunder. Yeah. But start looking at people for that. So if you see the shortcomings grow. What you focus on expands. But when you see the beauty and you see the power and you see potential, when you see the potential of somebody and you focus on that, it'll expand. Focus on the thunder, not the lightning, right? See them for what they are. I look at my son, he's 7 years old, and man, we pray for his wife. We pray for his future. I see the change maker he is. I don't know what he's going to do, and I don't care. I don't care if he's an architect, an entrepreneur, a teacher, a stay-at-home dad. Like, I am just so proud of who he becomes throughout the process. And we constantly are speaking to him about the thunder he's making down the road, right? That's leadership, that's parenting. So if you took nothing away from this whole call, just see the thunder people are about to make. And if you are that person in people's lives, everybody will love being around you. They'll always feel uplifted when they're around you. They'll always feel better about themselves, right? Let them walk out of a room and think, I like myself a little bit more because I spent time with you, right? And if even over the last half an hour, I just want to check in for a second. I don't know if this resonates or not, or if this is hitting home with you or not. Some of you, it seems like it is. Others, I can't tell. Maybe your webcam's too far away. But I'm curious, think about how you feel about yourself and your life and what you're about to achieve. Why are you here? What are you doing next? And do you feel better about yourself now than maybe you did 30 minutes ago? And I hope you do, right? Because again, I'm speaking out the truth in the potential that's in every single one of us and what's about to happen. So that's what I want to see for you. Third part, what did I say for the third part? Leadership in an organization. So to me, again, when I look at leadership in the organization or in an enterprise, in a company, whatever that is, and you could be doing a nonprofit, you could be leading a church, you could be doing a company, it could be, again, you and an assistant. Even if there's no other people but you, there's still the systems around you, right? The systems and policies that you don't even know are there, but actually have to be there. So leading in that, I think the number one key for this would be, shockingly, it's a weird word to use, but I think it's accurate, is submission. As a leader, we have to be willing to submit ourselves to the process that we've created, right? And if we haven't created it, create a process that you can submit yourself to. Okay. So whether it is a schedule of when you're going to do your Facebook Live, chats with your communities, and that's something you need to start doing more of, submit yourself to the system of, I do Facebook Lives on this day. This is how long I go for it. Or this is my curriculum I'm creating, these 12 different keys, and this is what it's going to be. Maybe you need to speak, but you're not currently speaking. So there's a pretty simple system for it. You create a keynote talk. You have your major 3 keys. You got to develop your own personal stories. You can connect with the people, right? With the real heart, like the way you want to. And there's these little systems. But then you have to submit yourself to the process and to the system you created. Sometimes as entrepreneurs and visionaries, we can buck the system. In fact, very often, the reason why our business has become what it's become is because we've bucked the system, right? We looked around and saw something broken. We looked around and saw something that made us angry. We looked around and saw people who needed help, and we said, I want to do something about this. So you looked at the status quo and said, never again, I'm doing something about it. And then you create a brand new, whatever it is that you're doing now, your new mission, your new enterprise. The challenge, though, is in your new enterprise, you have to now be willing to submit yourself to the new system and the new creation that you are the one in charge of. You can't run away from a structure and a system forever. All right, so that's kind of a major key for that. We've gotten a few questions in, which is so great. Oh, awesome. Kimberly. Where's Kimberly? Hi, Kimberly. Oh, love it. I love that. She said, this is exactly what I needed to hear tonight. Thank you so much. And you're very welcome. Blessing. I see there's a couple. Is there a question? I constantly do that with my friends when they lack the confidence to move to the next level of being a better person. Yeah, I'm sure Lisa, she was talking about the encouragement. I'm willing to bet, right? That's really good. Hi, Lisa. This is so great. So let me do this. And do we have till 7:30? Is that right? Just want to make sure I'm on the right page. Okay. Um, how would I do this? I'm a little early for this because it's only June right now. But I have a new book coming out, and I think it's very intriguing as a topic. So I'd like to maybe spend the next little bit talking about some of the leadership lessons in that, which ties right in. And I don't have, again, anything to sell you or anything. The book's not even out yet, but I thought it'd be really fun to talk about. Because what I picked up along the way is it's a book on entrepreneurship. It's called The Firebox Principle: 7 Drives That Fuel Every Entrepreneur. And when I looked at the fuel in the origin stories of entrepreneurs, and this is funny. It's my first new book in 10 years. My last book was published in 2007, second edition in 2011. And I've just been working on programs and workshops since then. So I'm really excited because it's the first time I've sat down to do a book in quite a while. And I started reading like vigorously biographies and interviews and just getting around everyone I could that was interesting to me, right? There was entrepreneurs past and present. And what I started noticing was I said, oh, so fascinating. The story of Adidas, I didn't realize, right? And you know the shoe company Adidas? Well, their story is there's 2 brothers who were basically had a grudge with each other. And out of revenge, he wanted to put his brother out of business. They had started Puma together. Well, he launched Adidas across the river in Germany, and they have 2 factories basically side by side. And if you've ever looked at Pumas and Adidas, they shockingly look exactly the same. Same 3 stripes and, you know, the whole thing. And it struck me, I realized there's really ultimately a few different categories of things that drive us internally to create something, right? To make a movement out in the world. And I think in the expert coaching space, a lot of people talk about making a big impact and making an impact and changing the world. And we start to think that that's why everybody does what they do. The reality is that's not why everybody does what they do. I was shocked to find that the most common driving force in entrepreneurs' origin story, do you know what it was? I call it the anger revenge drive. Anger/revenge was the biggest, most what's the word I'm looking for? Most present drive out of all of them. Lamborghini, the amazing sports car Lamborghini, was started out of revenge, right? Mr. Lamborghini was a tractor mechanic, and he was doing really well in his business. He fixed up old tractors and sold them again. And he went to the Ferrari dealership in Italy to finally get himself a treat, this new sports car. He loved it so much. And he had a chance to message and talk to Mr. Ferrari. And he gave him a few suggestions about how he could fix his engine because, you know, there were just a few things that he saw that maybe he could have changed to make better performance. Ferrari was so upset and taken back from the ego strike that a lowly tractor mechanic would try to give him advice. He said, get out of here, never come back. And I'm not taking advice from a tractor mechanic. Who do you think you are? He was so upset at that. He said, I'll show you who I am. And he built Lamborghini. There have been empires that have been built upon revenge and even anger, right? Look at Greenpeace, who, you know, regardless of how you might see the organization, they have done a lot of good in the world. And everything about Greenpeace was always sparked from, I hate what's happening there, so we're going to do something about it. And that is a really powerful driving force. The shocking thing was what I realized is a lot of people over time as well, entrepreneurs over time started an enterprise with one drive, but they're finishing with another, right? So some of the drives, I'll give you the 7 drives real quick if I can even remember them off the top of my head. There's anger, revenge. There's the ego drive. So the driving force was because I want to prove that I'm somebody, which is really common when you grow up feeling like nobody. Many people, Rupert Murdoch is one of these with the news group. I wrote up Vincent K. McMahon, who founded, or not founded, but I guess he created WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment, you know, Hulk Hogan, John Cena, The Rock, all those people. And, you know, he's worth $4.5 billion. But his entire organization came out of the ego drive. He wanted to prove that he was more than a regional promoter. He wanted to prove that he was more than his dad. He doesn't even like being called junior. He likes to be called Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Don't call me junior. Like I'm not a junior to my dad. It's so much fascinating stuff. So you have the anger revenge drive. You have the ego drive. The artisan drive was very cool. These are people that want to create something for the art of it, for the beauty of it, for the experience. Not just artists, but it's music. Speakers can fall in there very often. Some people just fall in love with the doing the thing they do and not so much about anything else, but just the doing. There's the contribution drive, which is all about the impact of people. To me, Tom's shoes fit in there beautifully when Blake Mikowski went down to Argentina and saw a bunch of kids in small villages getting diseases because they had no shoes and it was really dirty conditions. He came back and said, what should I do? I got to shoe these kids. So he had a choice. He could either start a nonprofit and ask for donations and beg for money, or he could start a for-profit and make a shoe company and say, when you buy a pair of shoes, I'll give a pair of shoes to a kid. So why not make a business, but out of the initial drive to make someone else's life better? That was what the whole thing was about. So there's the artisan drive, there's the contribution drive, there's the thriving drive, right? Strive or thrive. And those are people that really want to make a better life for themselves and a better life for their family. You find this a lot in recent immigrants to a new country. It's people who say, I'm going to build up, I want to get great. I want to build something wonderful so I can give this to my children. That's all about survive, thrive. It's not contribution. You might think it is, but it's not. It's really about having enough, being enough, getting out from the pit, the proverbial pit, surviving, becoming better, becoming more, and then really having the good life eventually. And then, so I'm sure I missed one of those. And the final one was spiritual drive. And this is the drive of an entrepreneur who says, I'm going to build something because I believe God, as I understand it, has called me to do it. Right? So it's not just in ministry. It can be in any area in life. Mother Teresa in ministry is a good example. Mother Teresa talked about her love for people often. And you might think she was very much about the love for people, and she is. But when you look deeper, you find that the dominating drive that really drove her was spiritual drive. At one point, Mother Teresa said, I had the call of God over my life. God said to go live with the poor, take care of the poor, and live amongst them. She said to deny that would be to deny the very word of God. So it wasn't about the people initially. The primary drive for Mother Teresa was the call of God on her life. And the way it played out was she then built a heart for people. So in the book, I basically cover these 7 different drives, what causes them, give some great examples of them. And then I'm in the middle of putting together. I'm very excited, and I'm happy to let you know when it's there. It's going to be free. Not the book, but I'm creating a Firebox quiz. I'm happy to let you know when it goes live. It should be within the next month. So yeah, I'll let Kent know when it comes out. But I'm creating a quiz that is near completion that will allow you to take a real quick quiz and figure out which of the 7 drives for your current enterprise are your most dominant drive, and then what's your secondary drive. And what it'll do is give you 2 things. The first thing is it'll give you insight into who you really are, and are you being congruent with that drive. Sometimes as a business owner, I find that I believe maybe contribution was the main part of the drive, but then you spend all your time trying to build up this wealth cycle. And there's nothing wrong with building a wealth cycle, building revenue in your business. But you don't want to kid yourself if your drive isn't really what you think it is, right? So what I say is this: if you have a drive, whatever it is, if it's ego drive, wave that flag, bear it proudly. Make it part of your vision statement. Make it part of your story. Put it on your bottle of kombucha. Put it on, on the walls of your office. Put it in the back of your book and tell your story and say, listen, I grew up and my dad wasn't here and my mom did this and I never felt good about myself. And one of the reasons I want to create this is I want to prove to the world that I can make it a better place, that I could do something strong and I'm important enough. And that was my journey of worthiness. And now you share your journey of worthiness. So rather than hiding it and trying to pretend that it's all about contribution, no, tell people exactly what it is. Say, this is about me proving that I'm good enough. And along the way, I want to help a lot of people. Does that make sense? Just because you have one drive that's a primary drive as a leader doesn't mean you don't have any of the others. The reality is I believe all 7 of the drives are active amongst us, but it's a question of what's the order, right? What's the primary, secondary, and so forth. So one thing is get congruent with your drives. The second one is sometimes, like I said earlier, how you start isn't how you mean to finish. So companies, and this is more for larger corporations often, but a company that maybe started 50 years ago, clearly under one drive, they've moved over time. And I love doing this, so I did some consulting work for US Bank and for YMCA, New York Life, a bunch of different companies like that. And it was before I did the Firebox. But one of the things I would always do is I'd survey team leads and survey employees. And I'd ask them things like, what do you think the vision statement is? What do you think the values are of the company? No, not what's on a wall, but what do you think they are? Based on how it plays out for you, how do you feel this leader is? What do you think what's important to the owner? And what you find is then I go talk to the owner or the executive board. And when you survey them, they give me this list over here. Then I show them the list for the employees, which was over here. And I'd say, listen, in your mind, this is your values and these are your driving forces. But in your team's mind, it's actually drastically different. So you got to decide, have you changed tracks? If so, we need to actually change on purpose and then wave the flag of the new track you're on now, if that makes sense. Or if you've been led astray and now you feel like you're further apart from where you desire to be, we have to actually implement a plan to get back, right? So I love in my business, every year, no matter what, I have a back to basics January. It's not a New Year's resolution, but in December, I sit down with the team. I sit down with me first, and then I sit down with the team, and I go over massively, what are the 3 most important things that I've gotten away from? What are 3 things I need to shift? 3 things I need to change? What's going on in this business? And then if it doesn't hurt a little bit, you're probably not being honest. It should hurt just a little bit. It should sting. And it stung for me, and I'll tell you right up front, one of the things that happened last year at the end of 2017 is I realized that as I focused more on the business, I, by consequence, focused less on the people. And I got really wrapped up in this conversation that a lot of other joint venture partners of mine and different colleagues in the space that are running kind of medium to larger organizations, our conversation started, in the beginning, it was who transformed? These lives transformed, somebody changed, who can I help, who can we impact? And it was all about that because I only had 3 people to help. But when we got into more people, hundreds of people in a seminar, thousands of people on the list, we're doing all these programs and products and different things. It became, what was the conversion rates? What was the show up rate? How many people were there? What can we do with this email to make it more effective? Bounce rate, it was all percentages all of a sudden. And I had to get really honest with myself. And at the end of last year, I said, oh my gosh, I have gotten away from the real reason why we started this business in the first place. And I'll bet people can feel that. So I repented, right? All that repenting is a spiritual word, but it just means turning away from or turning 180 degrees. So if you repented, it just means I'm facing one direction. I'm going to turn and face the other direction. I'm going to keep walking in a new way. So I repented and I told my team, we have a big kind of team gathering meeting. We'll go have breakfast together. Or I think we had lunch that day, and then we went to like an Angels game or a hockey game. I think it was a hockey game this time, but we always go out and do something every quarter. We go and have some fun stuff. And I said, here's the state of the business. And then I shared a few things that were really important that we had to look at as an organization. And it all came from me, right? It was top down. I'm the head of the dragon. So it was me that caused things not to go the way I wanted them to. And I said, now it's time that we change this. So here's what I'm getting at. December, I said, there's a problem, right? There's a fly in the ointment. Something's off. Something's not right here. January, we opened it up to discussion and said, how do we fix this? And by the end of January, I had a whole new initiative. And I called it 365 Days in the Life of a Client. And what I did is I looked at our NLP Mastery. It's our year-long coaching, training, and certification program. You get certified as a life coach, executive coach, NLP practitioner, time dynamics practitioner. Someone's joining us. Hello. This is awesome. I should let Val come in too. And it's this year-long program with 2 6-day deep dive trainings, a year-long of coaching, personal coaching, group coaching, all this stuff, right? And I looked at that and we said, okay, let's walk through. Somebody joins this program. What happens on the first minute? What happens in the first day? What happens in the second day? Where are they a year from now, a quarter from now, 3 months, 6 months? And again, I'm not too proud to admit that my program was still, here's the truth. It is head and shoulders above other NLP trainers and other coaching programs, I still believe, even then. But little by little, I added things that I thought, oh, that'll sell better. If I add this in, maybe more people will buy it. Does that make sense? All right, I can justify the price because I added in this extra coaching session or whatever it was. And then I took things out that I thought, oh, that's kind of expensive, or it's a little, I don't want to do all that extra work. So let's replace it with something different. I started making the program more around selling a program and less around giving people genuinely what they need and what they desire. And again, I hope you don't think I'm a terrible person for this, because I'm admitting it for a reason. I didn't realize that I'd slowly gotten off track, right? So this was the wake up call that I gave myself of, let's get back on track and make it better than ever. So I went all the way down to little distinctions. And one of the things that came up was things like, I thought, gosh, people have questions throughout. And when we go to live training and certification courses, we do like 2 6-day live events throughout the year. When you leave that and you don't have another 6-day event, a full immersion event for another 6 months, you feel like you're on your own. So what I did is I decided, we'll do every month, we do group coaching. There's some private coaching, but then I paid extra money that, like, I didn't raise the price or change anything. I had one of my coaches, Kevin, who's an amazing coach. I said, would you be willing to come on every Wednesday inside our Facebook group and do What If Wednesdays, where basically anyone asks any question they want all week long. And if there's 100 questions, you'll stay there for several hours. If there's 3 questions, you'll answer them all. If there's no questions, you'll make some up, right? So it was little things like that where I was like, oh, I think that would be great to give people a touch point that you don't have to be overwhelmed by it. But if you want to join in the Facebook Live, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And either way, it'll be archived there. So we'll be answering questions constantly. So the idea is you'll never go learn something and then go home with a question and not have it answered. So I did things like I implemented that at a cost that I didn't have to do. Nobody asked for it, but it came from the question of, how can this program be the best program that ever existed in the field of personal development and NLP training? So ask yourself, so that was what I went through at the end of the year. You can ask yourself right now in your business, think about whatever you offer and whatever you sell. Is it a product? Is it a service? Is it a you? And say, how can I make this experience for someone the best that they could ever possibly imagine? If they're getting me, how can I show up 100%? How can I give them? I don't want to give them 6 sessions for the bundle price because that's what my coach said that I should give them this many sessions. No, like, how many sessions do they really need? If they need 12, give them 12. If group work like this is amazing community mastermind. You can see, like, if that works, give them that. If they need more community, bring them community. If they need more one-on-one time, bring them more one-on-one time. If they need more teaching and blueprint stuff, take the time. Take a weekend out of your life and sit down and create some curriculum that you can give to your people. Does that make sense? Right? Just answer the question, what can you give to them? So, all right. With that said, I know we're already running short on time. We jumped all over the place. I hope this went to where you needed it to go. I see a lot of great comments. I don't know if there's any questions without reading everything, but it looks like a ton of great comments. Thank you so much for interacting with me. I sure appreciate it. If there's any questions at all that you have, please ask. And with that, I can also turn it back to Kent if he has anything to bring up before we wrap up.
No, Matt, I was just going to say, I will add you into our Warrior Leadership Training group.
Cool.
And that way people can connect with you. You can, if they've got questions or whatever, they can still connect with you inside of the group. You can be part of the group because obviously you know a lot of other speakers, and it might inspire you to bring that person onto your podcast. So, just want to give you value as well. And then, of course, I know you had a mentor. Your mentor was Tony Robbins, and you've probably had other mentors. How important is that to have a mentor, even as a leader? Like you have a business, so obviously you're the leader of your business, and you have people that you delegate to. But you as a leader, how important is it to either be part of a mastermind or have a mentor?
I mean, crucial, as you probably already would expect or know. But really, and I think this is a topic that people are talking about a lot now. And the hard thing is, it usually comes inside of a community of someone who is a mentor or has a mastermind, right? But take that even with a grain of salt. You still have to realize, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? You can't be a leader in your own echo chamber. And I never want to be that person. So when I'm at the office or, I'm doing trainings, I'm probably the person who's smartest, I'm using that facetiously, but like I'm the one who people are going to look to me for probably the advice or the coaching. And that's an amazing honor that I believe I've grown into. And I, with no ego involved, I believe I deserve at this point because I really have put the work in, if that makes sense. But I need to also, I'm always putting myself into other situations where I can learn and grow as well. So even if it's different areas too, by the way. So like, the two biggest places I'm probably learning and growing in a ton and getting mentors in is in the digital world. So I've been doing live events for years and I'm really good at live interaction events. But I don't know much about media. I don't know much about podcasting. So, that's what you can do. If you want to connect with me too, that's a great place. Go to, what is it now? Matt Brauning podcast. I'll put it in here as well, just in the chat. If you want to get that, it's totally free. Feel free to follow the podcast. You can subscribe. You can even rate and review if you want to. That would make
it's definitely worth listening to, guys. His podcasts are amazing. He has amazing speakers, and he shares great nuggets of value and information for you guys.
Well, thanks. But check it out. So but the point is, in the podcasting community, I don't know a lot about it. I launched this in February. I'm really enjoying the process. I do 2 episodes a week. One of them is about 15, 20 minutes that drops on Friday. That's me teaching on some NLP or leadership subject. And then on Tuesday morning, we do an interview where I dive into the origin stories and what drives some successful friend or an entrepreneur. And it's not a sales thing. It's just a really, really fun platform. But I don't know a lot about it. So I'm happy. I paid a good friend of mine, Steve Olsher. Some of you might know Steve. He's a good friend. Like, we've done a motorcycle rides together and we hang out. And I said, how much is your ticket? He goes, oh, come on. I said, how much is it? He said, $9.97. I was like, great. So I pay him $9.97. I show up to his 3-day podcast training, new media summit. And I loved it. It was awesome. I'm always happy to pay for and to show up for training for things that I need to learn. And now I'm surrounding myself with all these million plus download podcast experts that really know what they're doing to help me so I can grow. The other areas in spirituality. So I always want to be discipled and grow spiritually. So one of the things we're doing, and if anyone follows me or not on Facebook, but my wife and I, our family, we're moving to Michigan from California at the end of summer. And the reason we're doing that is we lead a local expression of our church here, but there's a much larger church in Michigan. And we're going to go be around the leaders, the spiritual fathers and mothers that I want to sit under that learning tree and really spend some time growing and becoming, who I want to become spiritually as well. So always have a mentor in your life. Ideally have a mentor in every area if you can. They don't have to be the same person, right? So I have, Andrew and Carl are both men I can go to spiritually for anything, and I have absolute trust. They can speak anything about any area of my life, right? I have Steve and a few other people in the podcasting or digital world. I have people in the live event space. There's always someone to be able to go to. So, all right, we have questions as we wrap up.
Let's see.
I may have missed it, but what is NLP? That's such a great question. A. Adams. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. And I realized we didn't talk a lot about, here's the truth. We didn't talk at all about NLP. We just talked about really leadership insights and encouragement, which is where I believe the conversation was supposed to go. But if you're interested in NLP, it's very, very fascinating stuff. You can also, I'll just put on my website here. You can, if you want to go there.
Yeah, I was going to say, put your website in there because I know there's a couple of people in the group that would like to know about your coaching program as well. Jennifer, she's on here somewhere.
Yeah, where can we get info on your coaching program? Hi, Jennifer.
She's really interested in learning that stuff. And, I know a lot about it, working with Tony and his son, Jarek, and, Les Brown and all these other people. It's in our realm, but a lot of people don't know what NLP is. And guess what, Matt? We'll just bring you back so you can talk about NLP.
Anytime you want me to come back, I'd be happy to. I've really genuinely really enjoyed the time here. So I'll leave you with this. If you want to stay connected, again, I'll jump in that group. That'd be great. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm not on Facebook all the time, but I try really hard to get in and interact. If you want to grab just a couple things that maybe I've put out there to stay connected, go to the web. Oh, here's a great one. Go to the website. This will give you an idea of NLP. At evolutionseminars.com. I think it's still on the home page, actually. I haven't changed this yet. It's going to turn into a paid course, but I was beta testing it. It's still there available, so grab it while it's there. It's an NLP speed reading course.
Ooh.
And it's a master class where there's 9 mini video modules. It's really easy to go through. They're like 5 to 12 minutes or so each one. And it goes through how to get into retraining your brain to absorb data in a totally new and different way, which is the bridge to speed reading. If you go through the class one time, I promise you, practice it once for half an hour, you'll increase your reading speed at least 3x. That's the average. You'll go from 200 to 600 words a minute if you just try it one time. So that's free. You can have that at Evolution Seminars, and you get me teaching a little more. Feel free to reach out. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Matt Brauning, and I answer questions. So happy to be around. Thank you so much for your time. I know we're over, and hope that was a fun time. I sure enjoyed myself.
I'm actually going to unmute everybody so they can thank you for your time and, even giving that free program right there. So let me unmute everybody. There you go. Everybody say.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you. It was awesome.
Oh,
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Okay, I have a question, Kent.
This is Lisa. This is our question person. He's always
Hi, Lisa.
first to ask.
Okay, and are we okay on time? I don't want to take it over, but are we okay?
You're good, man.
Okay, great. Take it away.
I'm asking, I know I'm asking on behalf of a couple of other people. Everybody in this group is very supportive of everybody else, okay?
Yes.
So, you know how Anthony Robbins or Tony Robbins, like, he'll start.
Somebody hit her mute. Hold on. Where did she go, Lisa?
Did you mute me?
I think we all got muted for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought it was, I thought Kent did that on purpose. So, you know how Tony Robbins asks a question and then it leads to another question with a person that has a problem?
Yep.
So, I have no problem, as well as a lot of people in this group have no problem with encouraging other people. And I know Kent's going to fuss at me afterwards, but it's the same like, I would love to sit in a room with Anthony Robbins and have him ask a few questions as to what is the wall that stops me with my discipline or self-discipline with trying to force myself to remain disciplined with weight loss. And Kent makes it sound easy, but you fall off the wagon when you constantly are, it's hard. It's hard.
Absolutely. I thank you for that honest, I guess, question and realization, because the truth is, and here's what the real truth is every one of us has something that is that for us, right? Mm-hmm. So it might not be weight for one person, but it's money and budgeting for someone else, or it's communication and relationships, or it's not running when you're scared, or it's not rearing up and getting angry when you're in conflict. Like we all have a thing. There's a couple ways to go about that before, and I know we don't have all the time in the world right now. So what I'd like to say is just to give you a couple of ideas of like maybe ways to think about. Oh, here we go. I'm going to pin your video so now I can see you. Hello. I see you much better now. So one of the things that I find is always present, or I guess it is not present, when there's a fall off the wagon mentality. Right. So again, whether it's weight or it's drugs or it's any habit at all that is hard to maintain, it's almost always one of the roots is lack of vision. And what happens is we get a vision for why we want to do something and what we want to do. And we know it's hurting us if we don't. And I want to do it right. And then we get on the wagon and keep going. But inevitably, what you start doing after a few weeks or a few months become a new normal. And then we lack the vision for why we started in the first place. Right? Or where we want to go next. If you can like the key to solving procrastination is one of the most commonly asked questions I get at live events. We do a live event called Accelerate, which is an NLP for personal development. Mm-hmm. The most common question I get at Accelerate is, how do you knock procrastination? And I say, well, the opposite of procrastination isn't motivation. The opposite of procrastination is vision. It's not about getting motivated. It's about having enough vision for where you want to go or what you want to create. Because think about it, when you have enough vision, you have something you really want to do. Like, would you ever procrastinate going on vacation when you have a vision for sitting in Hawaii, and you're like, this is amazing. I'm ready to go. I'm off work. This is awesome. you don't have a problem procrastinating the things you love, right? The things you're looking forward to.
Right. But I love to lose weight.
Exactly. So that's one thing to look at. And again, without having a deeper, longer conversation, that's a place I might point you to start our conversation. So looking at a long-term vision and one that inspires. The second element I would look at, especially again, whenever it's a teeter-totter, on the wagon, off the wagon mentality. So the first one's vision. The second one is towards versus away from motivation. Towards versus away from motivation. And here's what happens. I spent about 7 years in the rooms of 12-step programs from when I was 17 years old to 24-ish. Mm-hmm. So at 17, I got completely sober of everything. I didn't tell you all my story, but I got kicked out of 2 high schools. I was using, I was drinking. I was really that kid. And then I had this epiphany and I got sober and started going to meetings and at 17 years old. And it was amazing. And what I witnessed though in the rooms very often was this. It was the towards away from motivation. When someone fell off the wagon, what happened is the motivation to get sober was out of away from. We call it's away from meaning pain, right? And usually with weight, it's the same thing. It's you finally look down and go, enough is enough. What? I can't fit into that dress now. I can't buckle these pants now. And then the question, should I buy another size up again? Or is this the day? And if this is the day, that's usually what creates the time to change, right?
Mm-hmm. I did have that 2 weeks ago when somebody busted my balls.
I believe you, right?
Mr. Awesome Sauce. And he was good. He did a great job. But then you're like, it's the weekend. And New Orleans the
food is so good there.
The partying and the Italian and I listen to Kent's discipline and I'm like, how does he, like, I look at cupcakes and I think about Kent saying, I know that I can't touch that because we're all doing the intermittent fasting thing.
It's poison. It's going to kill you. Yeah, easy to say.
But then I'm like, screw it. It's just a cupcake, And then I'm like, damn.
Yeah. So consider one of these two. And again, like we could have a whole session about this, right? We could, I'd love, come to Accelerate if you can. It's a brilliant live event. In fact, all of you come to Accelerate. You know what? I'll just give you a ticket. If you guys would like, I sell them for $2,000. If you want to go to Accelerate, I'll just comp you. Because I think I would love, is that okay, Ken, if I do that? I'm asking for permission after the fact, but I would love to have the chance to spend a little more time and answer the question, what's NLP and how can it help? And one of the conversations I have at Accelerate is exactly this. Like Lisa, it's when you start with away from motivation, okay? You start with away from motivation, it wears off. So back to the 12-step program I was telling you about, right? I'll watch people get sober because their life got so bad. But then 6 months in, they go, life isn't that bad anymore. I have a job. Hey, I met a girl, I met a guy. I'm doing okay. I moved out from my parents' house. I got my own apartment again, or my wife took me back, or whatever the case may be. Like things are kind of okay again. And then when you look at that beer, you go, is it that bad? Was it that big of a deal? And it's hard to remember that. So think of it as a metaphor like this. If there was a rocket launching off of Earth, the away from motivation is the fuel pushing away from the Earth, right? That's the away from. Okay. Once you get far enough away from Earth, that push doesn't really do as much. What you need to eventually do is if they're shooting up to the moon, and I realize if anyone's an aerospace engineer, forgive me, this isn't exactly accurate, but as you get closer to say like the moon, eventually you need to stop pushing away from the Earth and get hooked by the moon's gravitational pull, and you get pulled into orbit and you'll slingshot around the moon. So you have to, at some point in life, we have to move from away from motivation or pain motivation, and we have to move towards motivation or vision motivation, pleasure motivation. So the motivation you got from Kent for the 2 weeks ago is brilliant to launch and get started. That motivation will get you to clear out your damn fridge, right? Clear out the junk food, throw away the candy. You know what I mean? Go shopping at Whole Foods, a whole paycheck.
It was more than that. It was. But
does that make sense? It's like, that's what starts you
Absolutely.
intermittent fasting. That's what starts you on bulletproof coffee. That's what starts you on whatever you're doing. Like, that's what gets you started. But to maintain when it's 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, 6 weeks in, is always vision and towards motivation. So find a reason why you sustain it. So one of the things that worked for me, and this is just my personal experience, and I'll end with this. So I've gotten back into in the last several months, really, really excited. I'll show you something. I got my meal prep bag with me here, right? Hang on. You'll like this. Let's talk about practice what you preach, right? So these are my meals. I got a stuffed pepper, a bunch of vegetable medley. This is what I eat all day. That's what I'm talking about, right? So again, I think in our industry, it's important to be congruent. So literally, I couldn't have staged this. This is my meal for the day. So but what happened is a few weeks in, it got harder to maintain because then I was like, oh, I haven't had a snack or I haven't done this or that. I really miss whatever I miss. The first week was hard because I missed everything. But by the third week and fourth week, what compels me to stay is the vision of how I feel. It really is. It's not, I lost, and don't make fun of me. I'm kind of always been a little guy, but if I gain 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 pounds, it's a lot on my frame. It's like 5% of my body weight. So, I was 5 to 10 pounds overweight. I was almost a size up on my belt. And I'm like, this is not okay because that's not who I am. That's not congruent with my identity. So after a few weeks, I dropped the extra, 5 pounds went away. The belt size dropped back down. The fatty shorts that I bought were all loose now. And I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have bought those. I shouldn't have given in. But what sustains me on it is how I feel. I realize that when I eat vegetables and sweet potatoes and clean protein, I feel really good. And I don't feel like I'm going to pass out at 2 p.m. anymore. I don't go to afternoon Starbucks anymore. I'm not flatulent and bloating, and I don't feel, I am a little bit sometimes, but ask my wife, but I don't feel bad like I used to anymore. It's the high energy, it's the feeling good, looking good. That's what keeps me moving. And I'm going, okay, I'm getting closer to having 6-pack abs again. This is exciting. And now I'm like, hey, I'm actually around the corner. I'm going to do this. So the vision compels me forward, but the pain got me started. Hope that makes sense and hope that helps Lisa and everybody else.
No, 100%. I'll tie in what Kent talked to me about with the same thing with you, but it's easy for me to slip when a weekend comes, or a celebration, and we have a lot of things in New Orleans. So it's like, that's the hardest part. And then you feel like, damn, I fell off the wagon. And then I get back on track by like getting on a Wednesday call and listening to, a guest that Kent has, and you tie it all in with the same thing, with that.
That's exactly right. And as you stay with the vision, eventually New Orleans isn't a pull.
Right. Is it normal for people to continually? I guess it is, because people fall off the wagon with drinking too.
Well, it's not normal. It doesn't have to be normal to fall off the wagon. Like in spiritual life, and I think this is just a metaphor for this, we say temptation is different than sin, right? Sin is actually acting on a behavior that you don't want to do. Temptation is being tempted by the behavior, right? And sometimes people beat themselves up for temptation, and I got to remind them, right? In the spiritual world, I say, look, that's not sin. That's just temptation. We all get tempted. And in the business or the health or whatever, it's the same thing, right? Desiring a food, or if I don't know what Kent's got you working on right now, if there's a cheat day or a cheat hour.
No, it's just a simple mental, like if you are serious about this, because I was whining about I wanted somebody to help hold me accountable.
Yes.
And he was like, no, you don't need anybody to hold your hand. You need to decide that this is what you want to do. And he said it in a way that he hit a nerve that made me want to punch him in the throat.
Oh, that's a good sign.
And it was perfect. It was
that's
good.
A really good sign. Yeah, a good coach you'll want to knock him out now and again.
It was good. It hit a nerve. It's just staying on that track,
That's awesome. Good.
Don't say anything, Kent.
So I hope that helps.
Yes.
And like I said, I just added this on here. And again, I promise you, I did not plan to do this, but I had a scholarship code because we give scholarships to friends and family sometimes. So if you want to join me for a live 3-day NLP event, it is coming up. I do it several times throughout the year. The last time I'm doing it personally was this July. So it's July 12th to the 14th in Orange County, California. It's nlpaccelerate.com. It's right there in the chat. And then use the code 1997 off in lowercase. And it'll literally, you have to put a credit card in. It's like a car rental kind of a thing, like it secures a spot, but there's no charge at all. and I'll give you a full scholarship ticket. I'd love to hang out and see you. That would be really, really cool. If you want to spend time with me live, come spend time. If you want to go to evolutionseminars.com and grab the speed reading class, grab that. Go sign up for the podcast, man. It'll be really fun. I'm dropping a new episode this Friday, and there's some great ones in there on procrastination, on motivation, on leadership, on sales, all different things like that. So, and I think Kent will probably be a guest on the podcast very soon, right, Kent?
Of course. Anything for you, man.
Outstanding. Can't wait. I'll reach out. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to the master. Thank you again, Mr. Awesome Sauce.
Matt, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Matt. You gave so much value and so much amazing nuggets. I know Kimberly, probably Jennifer, probably has like 8 or 9 pages written up already because I know these ladies and they just write everything down. So I was going to ask if you would be willing to donate to the Success Vault.
Sure. How does that work?
So we have a Success Vault. Every time a speaker comes on, we ask them if they'd like to donate to the Success Vault. It's something that one of the members in our group is going to win at the end of the year.
Oh, cool.
And the reason we call it the Success Vault is because all the tools, all the books, all the training, all the coaches that the trainers are donating are going to help that person with the success in their personal life, in their business, and with their teams.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. Digital or physical or both?
Whatever it is that you would like to donate, I know it'll be of value and it'll be amazing and it'll be something I want. So,
and when's it going to happen? I'm just thinking of what I should give.
It'll be
at the end of the year.
End of the year. Yeah, we're just finishing up the contest rules because it's going to take action, and of course they're going to be talking about you as well. So you're going to have all these people talking about you because they're going to be talking about the stuff that's in the Success Vault.
Can I give you 2 things?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'll give you 2 things. So one is I'll give a hardcover copy of the new book when it comes out, because the hardcover will come out with a little dust jacket and everything in August. So you'll get a copy of the Firebox Principle book. And then I'll also I have a digital program called Double Your Dollars. It's an NLP personal breakthrough program around the area of finance and life. It's a 7-day audio. It's very awesome, very comprehensive audio program with a PDF manual, and you can get instant access to that as well. So I'll give you the book and I'll give you Double Your Dollars. So you get some entrepreneurship and you get some NLP stuff. How would that be?
Dang. Oh, look at, they're all doing the raise the roof over there. And
we're not giving out free books either. I'm going to do a special deal with the ebooks when they come out, but the hardcover goes at $22.95. And so I'll give those, I guess, to a special group like you.
Yeah, no, please let me know when you launch your book so we can help you get the word out about your book.
Oh, thank you.
And, the more we talk about it, then it hits that bestseller. But, of course, we want to share your knowledge, your book, your information. You took the time to write it, so we want to share it. And
thank you.
Probably got some little guests next to you. I can see.
I do. I'm done in a couple minutes. Come on over and say hi.
Come on over and say hi. This is a family. It's
already almost bedtime.
This is a family group.
No, you don't want to?
Okay.
No. Yeah, I pull them on camera all the time and on stage, right, buddy? Yes. Do you like being on stage? No. Do you like being on camera? No. How about right now? No. Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. He wants to. What do you want to be when you grow up? Can I tell him? Come on. Well, he wants to work behind the scenes. I won't say what it is.
Nice.
I don't say it. Yeah, but that'll be fun. Working behind the scenes in movies.
Hey, that's an awesome gig right there.
Cool. All right.
So
love to you all. Thank you for the time. I'm gonna get this guy this little pumpkin home, and we're gonna hang out and get ready for school tomorrow.
Thank you, Matt, so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Matt.
Take care. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
All right, everybody. There you go. That is a wrap for Matt Brauning and his leadership training. I hope you got some nuggets, and I look forward to see you next week. As I'm not going to tell you who the guest speaker is. You just have to come and find out. All right.